Okay everyone, welcome to the third battle report on the channel. We have one army you've seen before and a new army today, which is good. John's brought along his Custodes, so we'll be seeing them in action. Lots of very cool models, partly from Forgeable, partly not. There are a few things missing because unfortunately, obviously the Custodes at this point have only got an index, and so they don't have a lot of the units you potentially would take or can take. So we're sort of trying to scratch the 40k and heresy rules together a little bit. We are going to be playing 40k rules, but we've got a couple of count-ases in his army because they're not allowed in 40k as of yet. So the Necrons have done well so far. Custodes are pretty tough opponents, so we'll see how the game goes. We've rolled the relic, so that's the mission. We'll reveal the relic in a moment. We have on my side a battalion detachment of Necrons, and so I have 6 command points. John has 4 because he has a Vanguard detachment and he's also battle forged. Obviously Custodes are very expensive, so it's quite hard to fit much in. So although he gets less command points, he has obviously got an extremely high output army, so it won't be easy. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the armies, give you a bit of a look at them, talk a little bit about our tactics or what we're going to try and do in the game, and then we'll get on to the mission. Okay, so I'm going to show you the Necrons first. So again, this is a battalion detachment, so we've got 6 command points along with the fact we're battle forged. We have 3 HQ choices, which are down here at the front. I apologise for the Cryptex arm. His broke before the game, so unfortunately he has no arm, but I'm sure he can still do his healing work. So we have a Necron Overlord in the middle. He just comes with his standard equipment. The only difference is I've changed the Staff of Light out for a War Scythe just to make him a bit punchier in combat, because I need someone who can maybe at least hold up the Custodes in combat at some point. We have the Cryptex one side, who is again, as he comes, just to try and beef up some of the infantry units and keep them going a bit longer. And we also have Orokin, the Definer. So he is actually, as the character, he's not a stand-in, so he is the character. Again, he has some really, really good buffs. We saw that in the last game that I played when I was against John. But also, again, he offers some combat potential as long as it's late enough in the turn, so he's transformed into the mini Satan. So he's not a bad choice either. In the troops slot, we've got 10 Necron Warriors, just sort of hiding around here. They are in a Ghost Arc dedicated transport. Just taking them really as basic objective grabbers. They're cheap units as far as Necron goes, and they're actually, you know, pretty decent in the game as well. The Ghost Arc's one of the best dedicated transports in the game as well, so to almost take advantage of that you have to have Necron Warriors because they're the only ones who can go inside. Characters can't even go inside with them, so it is literally Necron Warriors are the only ones who can use it. So if you want a Ghost Arc, which you do, you generally have to take some Necron Warriors. We've got 2 sets of 10 Immortals, all with Tesla carbines. This is partly a hangover from the last edition where I thought Tesla was good, but I still would probably arm them with it anyway, partly because I have some Gauls in my army from the Warriors, but also because the amount of shots they can kick out can become quite nasty, so I try to maximise the amount of numbers I can have of them. We've then got a Monolith and Heavy Support, really, really good now in the new rules. Something that's changed in one of the FAQs since we last did a battle report is he now hits on 3s, which he always should have done. Why the entire army hit on 3s, and then also the Necron pilots were like the idiots of the Necron Empire for some reason. I don't really know. I assume the idea was maybe it was supposed to be automated, so it wasn't quite as good, but I'm really happy it's on 3s to hit now, so that makes it quite nasty. It was already really hard to kill, but that was kind of all it did, whereas now its fire output's actually quite deadly as well. I've got a Night Scythe, which the Immortals will probably, well, at least one squad of the Immortals will be riding in. Again, high output, but also really good transport, get a unit where you need it. So in this, I might dump them on the Relic or potentially try and outflank John, potentially, so we'll see how that happens. And we've also got a Doom Scythe. Lots of destructive capability, suits fighting the Custodes as well, because it's not a lot of shots, but it's high output, which is kind of what you want fighting the Custodes. Mass shots don't really work for the most part. And again, trying to get around the board quite quickly, he'll give the anti-air in John's army a bit of a test. hopefully if I get the first shot in, I might be able to take them out before they can fire back. So that's the Necron army. The game today is 1750 points. It's 748, I think I worked it out as. So that's the army. That's a brief overview of kind of the tactics as well. I'm going to try and do sort of what the Necrons do, just a slow, steady march towards the relic, and hopefully blow the Custodes away. But I'm aware they're extremely tough, so it will be an interesting game. So we'll go on to John's armies and see what he's brought with him. So moving on to John's Custodes. He's actually got an even more elite army than mine. Obviously, Custodes are, what, 65, 70 points each? Yeah. Something like that. So they're extremely expensive. Obviously, they're extremely good. But it means he's got a very small army with which to play the game. The relic probably suits him, and to be fair, the Necrons not too badly. If it was a game with lots of objectives, then Custodes could potentially struggle. They're on foot and there isn't a lot of them, and so if there's like 6 objectives or something, it could be a bit of a struggle. But we'll see how they go. Some gorgeous models. We'll do some zoom-ins in a bit for some painting, but for now we'll just tell you what's in the army.
We've brought along today 2 units of Sentinel Guard with Guardian Spears. They're both 5-man units, one of which will probably take advantage of a Land Raider. I do like the spears in this edition. The fact that they're 2 damage per shot, AP -1, they're able to kick out some firepower, and then once they get into combat, they're Custodes and stuff dies. We've also brought along another squad with the sword and shield combination. There's 6 in that squad, so it is not eligible to go into a Land Raider, but the fact that it's got 3 up-in buns across the board, 3 wounds, toughness 5, it's going to survive. It doesn't really need the protection. We've brought an Inquisitor along today, and by that I mean I've borrowed Ed's, because it's to get a bound army we need a HQ. Unfortunately, the Custodes don't have a HQ in 8th edition. This army was originally built for Heresy games, and so we're going to have to try and make it work. We've brought a Contemptor Galatus, as it's called in the Heresy editions. This today will be played as a multi-melter Venerable Dreadnought from the Custodes list. We've also brought 2 with the Achilles Dread Spears. These will be used as Kerry's assault cannons. All 3 of the Dreadnoughts are also armed with a Dreadnought close combat weapon. And finally, we've got a Caladius, which is standing in for a Land Raider. We did bring a Coronis, but we were looking at it on the board and thought that the Caladius was much more similar in terms of size to a Land Raider, and so they might have to squeeze in there, but I'm sure they'll fit.
It is gigantic. All the Custodes stuff is just massive. I don't know whether you guys have necessarily seen that much in person, but they're just massive. I mean, I think, to put it in perspective, I suppose, if I put the Inquisitor next to it, you know, that's a standard Inquisitor, so sort of Space Marine and Power Armor size model. If you look at him compared to it, it's absolutely gigantic. And to think the other vehicle's probably half again as big, it's unbelievable. They're absolutely massive. They look amazing, but they are massive. So I'm going to do some close-ups of the army so you can see a bit more detail and things like that, and then we'll get on to first turn and that kind of thing. The only thing I wanted to say first was, I kind of know, but I want John to explain anyway, what's with the black armour?
The Custodes in the Inferno book have some fantastic artwork, and one of them is a page about the Wardens of the Vaults of Rython, and it's a very secretive part of the Custodes, and until Prospero they've not seen battle and recorded their battles, so there's a lot of mystery as to what they were doing before that time and why it was they were brought out for Prospero. So I really wanted to one, get away from there's a big theme of gold across the army, but 2, I wanted to see what the models could look like in black, and I'm really pleased with the result.
Cool. Yeah, I do think they look awesome, and like you say, it does break up the gold. Not that it's bad gold, but it does break it up a little bit. If anyone saw our Grey Knights vs Iron Warriors game, which was also a relic game, you know the Inquisitor was the relic, so despite the suspicion of him shooting Grey Knights, he's obviously managed to worm his way back into Imperial favour, so you can't really argue with the authority of the Custodes. So obviously it's all a lie, and he didn't shoot any Grey Knights, apparently. So right, we'll move on and we'll get to some close-ups and the deployment of the armies. Okay, so deployment's all finished, guys. So I'll run over my Necron deployment first. So we've got the Doom Scythe in this corner here, looking across the board, just to get some good angles of attack, obviously with the restrictions on flyer movement. We've then got the Ghost Arc in here with the Necron Warriors, just sort of holding the centre, looking towards the relic, which I'll show you in a minute. We've got kind of a bit of a bunker here behind this building, so we've got the Immortals, the 3 characters, and the Monolith. Basically, John should go first unless he sees the initiative, so I'm just hiding so he can't shoot my main unit before I get a chance to use it. And then finally in this corner as well, we've got the Night Scythe. Again, just good angles up the board there. The relic, I should say, is in the middle here. So we have a Custodes officer who the Custodes are coming to rescue, and the Necrons are trying to capture, try and get some intelligence out of him so they can further their campaign. On the Custodes side, we have one of the Contemptors out here on the flank, opposite the Monolith. The Land Raider here kind of anchoring the middle. We've got a Contemptor and some Custodes here. Another Custodes squad over the side, and just hiding around the back is the other Contemptor around there. We haven't got anything in reserve apart from the unit in the Land Raider. So there's a unit in the Land Raider as well. They're the Guardian Spear unit in gold, so they'll be in there trying to jump out and potentially get in combat quite quickly with the Necrons. We haven't got loads of heavy anti-armour, so that will be a bit of a bane for us, the Land Raider, I think. But we'll see how we get on anyway, and go from there. So anyway, we'll see if I can seize the initiative. John is going first at the moment, so we'll see if I can seize the initiative. And I can't, so I get a 2. So John will go first, so we'll get back to you after his movement. So it's the end of John's movement phase, and the Custodes have been moving up quick. So they've all kind of broken cover, the 2 Contemptors and the Land Raider, heading up this flank towards the Monolith, the Immortals, and the Night Scythe in the corner here. We've also then got more of an infantry push across the middle towards the relic, which seems like a good idea because they're the guys who can capture it, with the Contemptor holding the flank as well. So they're nearly in touch of the relic, as you can see, which leaves me with an interesting quandary when it's my turn, whether I try and slowly grind them down shooting and go and get the relic at the end game, or whether I advance and try and contest it. So that'll be an interesting decision for me. So we're going to move on to John's shooting phase. We have got a Psyker actually, haven't we?
We have.
So we'll be doing the Psychic phase first, and then the shooting phase, and we'll come back to you at the end of the shooting phase. Okay, we're at the end of the shooting and Psychic phase. It turned out there wasn't really a Psychic phase because none of the powers were in range. The Inquisitor does have Smite and Horrify. Terrify, same thing I suppose. And so neither of them were in their 18-inch range. We have had a decent amount of shooting though. So the Monolith got reduced down to 11 wounds, so he's just about still on 3s to hit. That was fire from the Land Raider with all its last cannons, a Hunter Killer, and a Multi-Melter from the Contemptor here. The Contemptor to the other side took his carries, and after much deliberation shot at the flyer and got it down to 11 wounds as well. John was thinking of trying to shoot the Monolith just because you could get it down to those 10 wounds and therefore make it worse in my turn, but then the chance of actually wounding it are pretty low, whereas obviously carries are pretty good against flyers. The Ghost Arc's also been brought down to 10 wounds. That's fire from basically the whole group there, the Guardian Spears and the Contemptor carries again. So not horrific damage, but some pretty good fire coming across from what is really a combat army. So not too bad really. There's no assaults, I don't think. I don't think we're going to be in range. So we'll go on to the Necron turn next. Some priority targets that need to hopefully take a good amount of damage, but we'll see what happens. So we'll go into Necron's turn 1. Okay, it's the end of the movement phase. The Necrons have stayed stationary in most places. The Doom Scythe's flown up the board towards the Imperial statue here to try and get a beeline on these guys, and then the Night Scythe on the opposite sides come up the board here. The Monolith and the Immortals have all kind of stayed stationary. The Immortals just trying to stay out of line of sight just for this turn. Hopefully I can bring in the other Immortals next turn, and then between them they can start doing some damage, but at the moment I would get some shots off on the Contemptors, but unlikely to do a lot of damage, and that'll let them charge me, whereas at the moment they can't see me to shoot me and potentially not to charge me, and even if they do, get in range, then there's a chance they won't roll high enough. So sort of staying there at the moment. The Warriors have got out the Ghost Arc, so I can get maximum firepower up the board for hopefully at least a couple of turns and see what I can do there. So we're going to move on to the Necron shooting, and we'll be back at the end of that. Okay, so we're at the end of the shooting phase. It's gone very well for the Necrons. The Doom Scythe swooped in here and destroyed the Contemptor in one round of shooting on his own, so he's done extremely well. Very lucky rolling, as you might imagine, but obviously a nice hole there now. So the Custodes infantry are now on their own to an extent against the Ghost Arc and Necron Warriors. Obviously they'll still beat them one-on-one, but they've got that conundrum of do we charge you or do we try and take the relic, but you're going to obviously keep shooting us, so John's got some decisions there. Over this side, still successful but not quite as good. That Contemptor was reduced to 6 wounds. That was shots from the Night Scythe and the Monolith combined. Decided not to shoot the Land Raider just because I didn't think it was likely I was going to do much damage, especially as the Monolith's main gunner who does D3 wounds. I'm going to try and wait maybe till the Doom Scythe can come over and kind of tag team the Land Raider. It is a risk, obviously, because I've only got 12 wounds left, but I was going to try and finish off the Contemptor, but the Monolith actually rolled probably a little subpar. He would have probably been down to 3 wounds otherwise, and then, you know, whatever he does next turn, he's probably dead. So, but he survived with 6 wounds, so he's got a little bit more of fight in him than I'd like, but can't complain, the turn went very well. Obviously, we have still got a unit of Immortals on the Tomb World waiting to come out of the Night Scythe or the Monolith. They can come out of either, so we'll see what happens there. So, there's no morale checks for John. So, at the end of turn 1, the Custodes had advanced, done reasonably superficial damage to the Night Scythe and the Ghost Arc, but obviously the Monolith they did well against, nearly got it down to half its wounds, and obviously it only gets 1 back for living metal, so it's still pretty much in that position. The Necrons then hit back and took down the Contemptor on the far side and have done some more wounds to the Contemptor this end. So we'll hand on to John and get his movement phase out the way on turn 2. So the Custodes have just ended their movement phase, so they're moving up pretty rapidly. They've claimed the relic now, their fellow brother Custodes, and they are on the ruined Imperial Aquila. So we might be looking at a charge towards the Warriors, certainly some shooting, but it may also be a slow organised retreat backwards to try and stay out of range for me to possibly recapture it. One of the Contemptors has marched himself round here with an eye of shooting the Monolith, probably in charging potentially the Monolith, but certainly the Warriors. The squad of Custodes have got out of the Land Raider and they're now down here. So obviously no charge this turn, but obviously gives me a interesting decision with the Immortals just on the other side. And this Contemptor's moved around here. Obviously can get some shots up at the flyer, and then again we're going for probably a long charge into here. Obviously if they both get in, there could be a lot of trouble. If one gets in, perhaps the characters and just toughness of Immortals might be able to see them off, but we'll see how that goes. We do actually have a psychic phase this term, I should think, hopefully, maybe within 18 inches. And so we'll see how that goes, but like last time, we'll do the shooting phase as well and come back to you guys at the end of both, just so there's plenty of action for you to see. So we'll be back once we've done that. So we're at the end of John's shooting psychic phase. He did get Terrify, or Horrify, whichever it is, on the Warriors. So they can't overwatch at all, -1 leadership. So maybe a charge coming from the Custodes here. The Ghost Arc is down to 5 wounds. That's just firepower from the infantry ahead of it. So that went pretty well. They have got a decent amount of firepower because they have got damage 2 on those halberds, but even so, that's pretty good. They've stripped off like 6 wounds there, so that's not bad. The Monolith is just about still alive. It's on 2 wounds. John got a little unlucky firing his Land Raider along with the Multi-Melter and the Carey's Contemptor. All came together to try and finish it off, but took in the end about 10 wounds off, which wasn't quite enough to kill it. Obviously though, it is going down next turn and its shooting is going to be hit on 5. So it's been blunted quite badly, even if not killed, so not too bad there. So that's the end of the shooting phase for John. We're going to go into charges, so we'll do that now. So what would you like to charge?
I will be charging the Sentinels and the Custodians at the Necron Warriors.
Okay, do you know what you need?
I don't yet.
Okay, cool. Do you want to measure that up?
I will.
Have a nose.
So that's 9. Yeah, 9 there and probably 8 there to get into 1/2 inch.
Okay.
And over here, I will be charging the Contemptors both into the Squad of Immortals, and hopefully, if I can get enough, I might try and get in on that monolith as well.
Okay, so there's no Overwatch over here, so let's do this one first, because the Necrons are apparently scared of something. I don't know what. But
so the Custodians that need 9.
Yep.
No.
So they fail.
And the Sentinels who need 8. No.
No, cool. So get away with that. So that's pretty lucky for me. I'll admit that. So we'll go from that. And then over here we've got the Contemptors.
We're going to start with this Contemptor, and I'm going to charge the Squad of Immortals. Would you like to Overwatch?
Well, yes, I suppose might as well, because you might get in. So let's have a go at that. So we've got 10 Tesla Immortals. Let's get some dice together. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Cool. Let's have a go. So we can roll. Yeah, re-roll that one. You got 6. So 2 6s. I'm not sure whether the Tesla counts on Overwatch actually. I'll roll to win with these 2. Neither wounded, and then we'll have to find out very quickly whether Tesla does work like that. It doesn't say that it doesn't, so technically I've got 4 more hits. Please tell us in the comments if that's wrong. It's strength 5, so it doesn't wound you. So there you go. So onto your charge.
Fantastic. So charge will need 7.
Yeah, that's fine.
So we're in,
so they're in.
With no extra on to try and get the monolith too.
No, okay.
And we've got the charge on this side as well. So again, that's up Mortals.
Obviously no Overwatch.
And that's going to need a 9.
Yep, so that'll do. Double 6. So the Contemptor piles in.
Fantastic.
Cool, so that's the charges done. Probably the more important charges have actually gone off here, because these guys here aren't that much of a threat to all those Custodians. Even with a full rapid fire shooting phase, which I'm about to get, I'm probably going to drop maybe 2, 3, and they're probably going to charge anyway. So I mean, obviously we'll see what happens, but this was far more important. Obviously the monolith is free to move, but the Tesla and my heroes are all kind of caught up in a combat now. So and also the 2 Contemptors are safe in combat as well to an extent, unless I back out. So we'll see what happens in the combat phase, and we'll get back to you after that. Okay, so it's the end of the Custodes charge phase. Pretty underwhelming in the end, unfortunately. Both Contemptors got in, which looked really promising, but they proceeded to kill 1 Immortal. They did do 3 wounds on the Necron Overlord, which was pretty good, but again, should have killed him. Thankfully, Phase Shifter came to our rescue, and they passed 3 out of 4 invulnerable saves, so that helped a lot when that halberd... well, no, sorry, it's not the halberd, but the combat weapons damaged 3. So luckily, the Overlord is still alive, just about hanging in there with his 3 wounds. We did a couple of wounds back with the War Scythe, but apart from that, not much happened. Orokin isn't in his Satan state yet, so not really too much chance for me in that combat. So I know I've got a conundrum of whether I back out of that combat. Obviously, other stuff can shoot, but there isn't too much around here to shoot them anyway. Or whether I stay in combat and deny them charging again. Because then potentially I could activate Orokin or my Overlord before John gets to activate his, especially this turn, obviously with it being my turn. If Orokin potentially transforms, I could put him and the Overlord against Saint Contender and probably kill it. So a couple of thoughts there. We'll see what happens. Obviously the Immortals are still in this Night Scythe as well, but they have to get out before the Night Scythe moves, and obviously there's some Custodes here, the Contemptors here, and the Land Raider there. So it doesn't feel like the best place to get them out. So again, do I get them out because I need them to make an impact now? Or do I fly the Night Scythe over here, just to keep it on the board really, obviously they've got 360 vision now, and join with the Ghost Ark, the Warriors and the Doom Scythe by just, trying to pummel these Custodes, so I can maybe nick the Relic later, and almost kind of abandon this flank and hope that all that firepower with the Immortals getting out the Night Scythe later can kill them, and then I can jump on the Relic and hopefully run away very quickly. So we'll see whether that actually works or not. But that's the end of John's turn. There was no morale tests, so we're going to go into Necrons turn 2. Okay, so we're here at the top of Necron turn 2. We've done our movement. The Warriors and the Ghost Ark just backed off a little bit along here, just so that they were within rapid fire with pretty much every gun, but that bit further away from the Custodes, and hopefully that we might kill a few and then they might fail a charge, gives us more of a chance. The Flyers are doing their strafing runs back and forth across the board. Obviously 360-degree view now, so they can shoot whatever they like. The Immortals actually stay inside the Night Scythe. I was talking to you about what I was going to do with them, but I just don't think getting out of them out there, will serve any purpose apart from getting killed. So as much as it's frustrating to leave them in the Flyer again, I think it's probably the right choice. We have the Immortals staying in combat. Again, another thing I talked about at the end of the last turn. Just feel like because I can activate my Overlord first, I think it's worth leaving them in combat. And then the Monolith just sort of backed off a little bit. He can only move 4 inches a turn now, but he's got a shot with 3 of his weapons up towards the Immortals. So we can have a bit of a go with him and see if we can do a few more wounds. So obviously no psychic phase for the Necrons, so straight on to the shooting. Main focus again is really here. I think pretty much all my firepower will go into these 2 squads to really try and trim them down, but we'll see how we can get on. Some of our weapons are quite good against Custodes, some of them are meant for softer targets, so we'll see how we get on. So it's the end of the Necron shooting phase. Unfortunately it's gone quite poorly for us. We've managed to kill basically a Custode, and that's it from the entire army. I mean, as I said earlier, the army's not really made to shoot Custodes. It's meant to shred low-level infantry and sort of grind down heavier stuff. But now that the Monolith's hitting on 5s, the Ghost Arks got knocked down 1, and things like that. It was unlucky, certainly, but it was also unfortunately the Custodes are just too tough for us at the moment. So a poor shooting phase was pretty disappointing, but I may get another chance if the Custodes can fail their charges, or even if they do get in, the Necron Warriors can potentially back out of combat, and then the rest of the army can shoot again. But I'd have to have a fantastic shooting phase, so a little bit disappointed over there. Over here, we're going to go into combat in a second. Orokin hasn't transformed, so he is normal Orokin. So I've got to hope that my Lord of the War Scythe can finish the Contemptor off, and then hopefully we can gang up on the other one. But again, John's got some Custodes just sort of lurking here, ready to charge next turn. So the Necron's still in the game. Obviously it's all about the Relic. There's no Line Breaker, Slay the Warlord, First Blood anymore. It is literally the Relic, so it's not impossible for us to get it back. We just need to hold here for a long time, and hopefully these units over here can do the business. But it's taken a turn a little bit there with that shooting phase, but we'll see what happens in combat, and then we'll go on to John's turn next. So end of the combat phase. The Contemptor intercepted using John's last 2 command points and managed to kill the Necron Overlord, so he's dead. He only had 3 wounds left thanks to Living Metal, so 1 sweep did it, but I think he actually took about 12 wounds, or maybe 9, so he was pretty much obliterated. Apart from that, 1 Necron Immortal died. We did nothing back, but again, neither side took any morale casualties in the end. So that's the end of Necron turn 2. Going to go on to Custodes turn 3. Feel like this is a vital turn. Down here, we have kind of lost control of the battle, but the main, obviously, events up here with the Relic. If the Custodes can get into combat with the Warriors and potentially the Ghost Ark as well, the game could be sliding away from the Necrons, because they'll either be destroyed or slowly ground down in combat. If by any chance I can stay out of combat, so I have everything firing next turn, we might be able to steal a victory, but we'll see how it goes. So we're on to Custodes turn 3. So the Custodes have moved up again. They're near the Promethean relay pipes and not far from the Necron warriors. We haven't measured it, but I think it's probably about a 5-inch charge, maybe 4, so they're pretty close, but may get a chance to overwatch. John has done his psychic phase. He tried to prevent them from overwatching again, but failed. So we are going to be able to at least overwatch before we get hacked apart horrifically. The Custodes here have jumped up onto the ledge before jumping down into combat with the Immortals, and the Land Raider is the only thing I think that's stayed more or less still. Just picking targets really. Can finish off the Monolith, or can obviously take some pot shots at the Flyers. So we'll go on to John's shooting phase and get back to you after that. Okay, so we're at the end of the shooting for the Custodes. It's gone pretty badly, kind of like my turn really. We've done a few wounds here on the Night Scythe. That was kind of volley fire from every Custode here. The Custodes here fired on the Monolith, didn't manage to do any damage, which is still there because the Land Raider, unfortunately for John, completely fluffed its lines and did 1 wound, which I managed to save on a 6. So the Monolith is still here, still nearly useless because he's hitting on 5s, but obviously every shot counts. You never know, he might be able to kill 1 or 2 of these guys next turn. Every little matters. So it's still a good turn for the Necrons so far, but we've now got combat. So we'll see the charges and see if John can get in. So I'm going to overwatch first. He's charging with both these units into the warriors here. But I'm going to overwatch first. Who do you want to charge with?
I'll charge with the squad with the shields first.
Okay, so I'm going to overwatch. So it's 60 hit. We've got 1. So just 1, and then I'm going to reroll them. See if I get any more, because obviously we're in rapid fire. 1 more, so 2. So 2, see if we can do some wounds. 1 wound on a 5 at -1.
So 3 up save.
Yep, so he's saved. So they're fine. So the guys in the black armour here need a 4 to get in.
Well, you can potentially overwatch them if oh,
that's true, yes. Sorry, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So the shields first need a 5. So yes, they're in. So they pile in and see if the...
we'll see if they get in as well.
Yeah, see if the spears go in. 2, is it? Yeah, so they're all in. So we'll pile the Custodians in and we will get back to you once combat's done.
Encounter Venerable 8, which is lower than a regular Custodian.
Okay, end of the combat phase. The Necron warriors, as you might imagine, have evaporated. But John did roll pretty well and actually got rid of the Ghost Ark at the same time. It only had 6 wounds left, but even so, I think there's only 2 guys, maybe 3 in combat with it, so they've done pretty well, so that's good. So they've managed to consolidate, and they look pretty securely in control of the relic now. Over here, we managed to actually inflict a few wounds with the Immortals and Orokin onto the Contemptor, so he's lost a few wounds, and a couple of Immortals were killed, which hopefully we can bring back with reanimation. So that's the end of the Custodes' turn. It didn't actually go in a lot of ways as well as it could have done for John, but it still put him in pretty good control of the game now, because I don't really have anyone who can come and get the relic off the Custodes. But we're going to play on, because you've still got 2 flyers, we've still got everything over here, and a unit of Immortals that are about to get out of the flyers. They're the Night Scythe as well, so certainly can do some more damage, and you never know. So we're going to go on to Necron's turn 3. And we're at the end of the Necron shooting phase. Unfortunately, it seems without the Overlord, the protocols are starting to fall apart a little bit. I fired the Doom Scythe, Night Scythe, my entire Immortal unit, and the Monolith at this Custodes unit here, and they lost a wound. So went quite badly. John did roll very well, but again, it's the consequence of no AP on Tesla against 2+ saves. If it was 3+ saves or anything else, even though you didn't get the -AP, just sheer volume would kill stuff. But with the 2+ saves and getting a little lucky with rolling, just no damage at all. So that was quite unfortunate, but it is what it is. So unfortunately, the Necrons have had their chance to really drag themselves back into their game. If they'd have killed these 3, which would have been quite lucky to kill them 3 and then maybe strip 1 or 2 off these, it is asking a lot, might have been back in the game. But unfortunately, the way that turn's gone, I think it's slipping away from the Necrons now. So we're going to do this combat now, and then see how that goes, and see if the contenders can start to finish off these immortals and the characters, and then we'll go into the Custodes turn 4. Okay, so we're at the end of the combat phase. There was only one combat, which was here, and everyone proceeded to do pretty much nothing. I think one immortal may have died. Oricon and the immortals managed to do nothing back, so we're kind of status quo there. I did forget to mention that I did do a reanimation protocol roll for these immortals at the beginning of my turn, but didn't actually do anything. I didn't get any back, so that was done. It just, like I say, nothing actually came back, so it wasn't really worth reporting at the time, but I thought I'd better put it in just in case anyone worries that it wasn't done. So we're going on to Custodes turn 4. We will see how this goes. This may be the last turn, but we'll see what John can do in his turn. Okay, so end of the Custodes movement on turn 4. So the Custodes have all turned round and are now going to pick on the immortals here. So we did cast Horrify on them, so they are not overwatching, unfortunately, so they've got to just stand there and let the Custodes charge them. Should be unfortunate for them. Obviously, apart from that, pretty much everything's stuck in combat. John will probably try and charge this Custodes unit in just to help finish off the immortals, and the Land Raiders stay where it has for pretty much the entire game, but that'll be looking to no doubt finish off the monolith finally, which has done very well to survive this long. So we'll go on to John's shooting phase now. So that's the end of John's shooting phase. It's gone pretty well for him. They've managed to clip a couple of wounds off the Night Scythe that's coming off in this direction. Didn't manage to do anything to the immortals here, but did manage to finally take down the monolith, which was the last cannons finally doing their job from the Land Raider. Should have died a little while ago, but there you go, it's all done now. So we're just getting ready to do some charges. There's charges over here, and probably a charge here as well, but we'll get back to you after we've done them. Okay, so that's the end of the Custodes combat phase. It's been very proficient. The units here have pretty much wiped out everything bar Oricon, who's just about alive on 2 wounds, and over here they've completely sliced the Tesla squad apart. So pretty good combat phase, but not crazy rolling or anything like that. That was pretty average, really. Custodes do pack a punch in combat, so even Necron Resilience can't stop them. So I'm going to call into the game there. I've only got Oricon and the 2 flyers left, so obviously no chance of winning through strength of arms, but also no chance of actually getting the relic, which is buried in with all these Custodes, which is obviously the point of the game anyway. So no chance for the Necrons to unfortunately win. So yeah, it's a good game. Interesting playing the Custodes. I've not played them before, and they're pretty nasty. A lot of really good weaponry. I think to an extent I overestimated and underestimated the wrong units. I think the Contemptors are still good. They're 2s to hit, things like that. They ignore wounds on a 6. They've got special rules that other Contemptors don't have, but in the end they are just a Contemptor. Whereas the infantry are absolutely horrific. Their shooting's pretty good. Their Guardian Spears are damage 2, which is nasty, but just once they get to combat, it's just disgusting. So the Land Raider, I left that alone, but that's because I didn't really have the weapons to kill it, to be honest. But perhaps from the start of the game, instead of going after the Contemptors, even though there were 3 of them, I should have just pounded the infantry from the beginning. Especially as it was relic, and they technically I don't think can capture it, although I might be corrected on that. So perhaps a slight change of tactics there. Certainly should have had the Immortals out since the start of the game. Thought it might give me a tactical edge to have them in the flyer or coming out of the monolith, but actually in the end it just took firepower away from me for a couple of turns with no real advantage at all. So bit of a lesson learnt there perhaps. Just worried about the Custodes shooting, because I know their shooting is pretty good, but again my shooting is probably better, so again should have perhaps had that out straight away, but not too much to complain about. I think it was an uphill slog with not a lot of high AP weapons on my side and the Custodes with their 2-up saves, but some lessons learned about the Necrons and some lessons learned about the Custodes as well. So there isn't actually any points to wrap up this game. It just says in the rulebook that it's a major victory to whoever holds the relics. Obviously, it's a major victory to the Custodes. Hopefully, we'll have them back sometime soon. I don't think me and John are going to get another chance to play a game this weekend, so this will be the only one coming out at the moment, but hopefully he'll get up soon, or I'll manage to get somebody else around for a game and see if we can play them again sometime soon. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing and commenting and liking the videos. It is a great help. Please continue to do so. Look out for more videos soon. I will be doing a Tale of a Gamer soon, and obviously at this point, Codex Death Card, I think it's a week away, and the Adeptus Mechanicus is 3 weeks away, maybe 2 weeks away. So I'll be buying them and reviewing them in due course, so keep an eye out for those videos, and in the meantime I will see you later.